We're back. What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday fun day. Welcome to True Fly Shenanigans, a live streaming podcast where your favorite host brings some of the week's most interesting topics to the table to break down, discuss, and ultimately determine if they're truth, lies, or shenanigans. And being the little devils that we are, we always try to conclude some shenanigans of our own. My name is Lizzie Enders, and I'll be filling in today for Leo Dix, who is on the road again out in this hot for a little vacation. So safe travels to Leo and his wife Mel. We'll see you next week, hopefully, maybe. Who knows? As always, start the show with a quick fire session where we do a quick question and some rapid answers from our host, and then we'll delve into our hot topics where our host will bring to the table their favorite, or not favorite, but their most talked about topics, trending topics from the previous week. So first we're going to get started with Gianni Storm. She's going to delve into whether or not U.S. track star Sha'Carri Richardson should have still been allowed to run for Team USA despite being disqualified from the Olympic Games after testing positive for marijuana. Then we're going to delve into our guest host who has joined us once again, Jose, and she's going to talk about electroshock therapy in the United States. So we want to see what you have to say about that. Rob B is going to bring us the latest on Canada's first Indigenous Governor General. All right. And then finally, I'm going to wrap up the hot topic session talking about the latest from Haiti and the assassination of their president this past Wednesday. A lot of civil unrest and a lot of turmoil there. Okay. So we have a fun, packed, filled day for you of hot topics, shenanigans. But let's start off by introducing you to our hosts. I want everyone to join us in giving a round of applause and happy birthday to our birthday. Happy birthday, Gianni. How did you spend your birthday week, girl?
I had a crazy week. It feels so weird to actually take a break. It feels impossible, I will say that. But other than that, my best friend's in town. We got to spend time together. I did a few fun things. I got to take really nice pictures and just be beautiful and just sleep in and have fun and drink a little and party. So thank you guys. Thank you for that.
What were you drinking?
I had a lot of margaritas and some like Jose Cuervo, which is not like the best. I know it's not high. Oh, and I had Bel Air champagne one night. So yeah, just different things.
Champagne.
Well, it sounds like fun. It sounds like fun. Did you get any special gifts?
Yes. A guy that I'm talking to got me a couple of gifts. He got me a really nice, expensive perfume and some cute ins and outs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Notice how she slipped that in there, y'all. Beneath the radar. A guy that I'm talking to. A guy that I'm talking to.
It's nothing. Just got me a few gifts.
We'll have to keep it out for the guy that she's talking to. All right. Well, again, happy birthday, Johnny. Happy birthday. Next up, filling in once again in the guest host seat is our girl, our TLS Twitter and newsletter coordinator, the lovely and joyful Jose. Jose, hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Like, this is the second week in a row. It's absolutely an honor to be part of the show again. Thank you for having me. It's been a busy week at work, and I'm so looking forward to just tackling your shenanigans this week and calling some people out.
Well, we're definitely happy to have you here. All great to have you here. And then finally, we have our very own gamer, tech guru, rock star, and show behind the scenes today, Mr. Robbie Rock.
What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday Fun Day. So yeah, it's I'm in the production chair today. Neo's given me some training over the course of the week, and I hope that I can do him justice with a pared down production for all of you.
You got it, Rob.
How's it going so far, Rob?
So far, not too bad, not too bad. A few little audio jitters here and there that make my heart palpitate, but we'll get through it.
Well, I'll
Oh,
try to be less tongue-tied so we don't give you any more heart palpitations throughout the show. So I think we'll get into a groove in a little bit. I think we'll get into a groove slowly but surely in a little bit.
Heck
So
yes.
yeah.
this past Wednesday, while Gianni was working and working around the ATL birthday, Jay filled in for her on TLS Unscripted with Olivia E. on Wednesday.
Hmm.
So, Jose, tell us a little bit about your first appearance as a co-host on Unscripted.
Ooh.
So it was actually my second appearance, but I was on the show like when we first started, and the show last
Yep.
Wednesday. Um, it was really interesting. I had a lot of fun. I was a bit kind of apprehensive at first. It was a bit awkward. It's like, dating someone for the first time, and should you hold hands? Should you kiss? So, but Olivia E was just so amazing and so easy to work with. And we found her grooves soon after. The challenge was awesome. I had gut rot till the next morning, but it was fun, and I loved how Robbie Rock would just, photo bomb or video bomb every so
Yeah, that was
often, just to
hilarious.
have fun, just to have fun. So we had some good conversation.
Well,
Nice.
good. Glad you enjoyed yourself. Glad you had
Yeah.
a good opportunity to hold hands with Olivia E, if you will. And shout out to Olivia E, who I'm sure is watching us. Remember, guys, you can catch the next episode of TLS Unscripted on Wednesday. Where they're there
Yeah.
every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on TikTok and Instagram. If you want to catch clips of previous episodes, you can catch them on YouTube or at TLSLiveShow.com. All right, so we're going to get into the quick fire segment of the day.
Yay.
All right, you guys ready to come quick with these
Yes.
answers? All right, so what's up for today? With Thursday's announcement that Japan declared a state of emergency in Tokyo throughout the Olympics, which start on July 23rd due to the COVID surge in Japan, and that the games would be without spectators. What say you? Was the writing on the wall for this outcome all along? Let's start with Jose.
I'm not going to say I told you so, but I did. The writing is absolutely on the walls, and I've been a huge advocate of saying, you know what, one more year, just wait one more year. That's all. It's all about patience. But
Jose, say
alas,
I
here we
told you
are.
so in French. Say I told you so in French for the people.
Oh my goodness, how would I even say?
Je te l'ai dit.
Je te l'ai dit, comme tout bad so sad, là.
What she said.
So,
What she
so
said, yeah.
basically, I told you so. Yeah.
Okay, Gian.
So,
Good one. I would say that's what they get for not letting Sha'Carri run the 100 meter, the 100 meter relay race.
ooh,
Oh, girl, we're going to have to talk about this
Okay,
next segment. But
we're
yeah,
gonna
go
talk
ahead.
about it. I know.
Rob B.
I brushed up on my Japanese for this one, so ita. Told you so.
Nice.
awesome.
You
I
brought
think,
two different languages.
damn. That's what I'm saying. Damn.
Yeah.
But overall, like, what do you guys think about this? The state of emergency in Japan, in Tokyo, no spectators for the games. Do you think it's going to affect the athletes who are going to be competing?
I think so. Even if it's not consciously, they're used to being performers, so they're used to a crowd somewhat. And then also, I feel like a part of them, their mindset should have been prepared for it because they knew that a lot of the Japanese civilians didn't want it happening. So who was going to show up anyway? So yeah, that's my take.
Robbie?
Yeah, I mean we've been talking about this one for a little while, kind of keeping tabs on it, and yeah, the
Yeah,
writing has been on the wall for months. Health officials have been
literally.
stepping up and saying no, don't do this, and the Olympic Games are run every 4 years, so if you're going to offset it, do a 2-year offset, so it actually kind of makes sense, especially during a pandemic scenario. It I think for veteran athletes, that might get into their head a little bit. People who are used to having a crowd of 5 to 50,000 people cheering them on. But at the end of the day, they're true athletes and they're going to be competing at the best of their abilities against their competitors, but there's not going to be that extra wind beneath their wings.
Yeah, motivation. Might make them more focused if there's not a lot of crowd.
What do you
I
think,
do
Jose?
remember though when COVID first hit and the restrictions started with the hockey season. I remember watching the Bruins and with empty stands, and it was really eerie. And I found that the players were off. Any teams during that time, the players were off because they need that reassurance. They need those cheerleaders in the bleachers, so to say, so to speak, to, cheer them on, to encourage them. And I honestly think that this is going to be mentally very taxing for a lot of athletes. Yeah.
I agree with you
Good point.
in a lot of ways. I think for events where they are performing in a big stadium, that it might be less packed. Like get into events, for example, where the venues are smaller and that roar from the crowd, that cheer from the crowd encourages the athletes, or for like gymnastics, something like that. I think that might be a bit jarring for some of these
True.
athletes and affect them. Um, Personally, gosh, I gotta say, like, a year ago, I was happy that they called it off because it was just far too soon. We were like smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. But then as sports started to come back, as a sports journalist, as an avid sports fan, I got roped into it again. It's like, okay, I'm glad you guys are back. I'm glad you're competing. I'm glad that, these athletes who are at the near end of their careers have one more opportunity to compete.
Yeah.
So that's where I am now. Like, I understand the safety issue and how I don't necessarily Japan, had the correct foresight to deal with all of this. But at the same token, at the same time, I'm thinking about those athletes who probably wouldn't have been able to compete if it had been pushed back another
2 years
year,
past. Yeah, that's
and
true.
what would have happened to them. So it's a horrible dichotomy. I'm happy in one end, and then on the other end, I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah.
I just hope that everyone is still able to have a level head and go out there and compete to the best of their ability. I definitely will be watching. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I'm excited about it. I do think that, and Gianni will talk about a lot of this in her next segment. I do think that there are a lot of politics involved around the Olympics, but that's always the case.
Yeah.
That's always
Yeah.
the case. But hopefully everyone will get to be safe and sound. Be safe and sound.
Yeah.
All right. So
Agreed.
that's our fire topic for today. Hopefully, you all will be turning into the Olympics. If you have any additional comments, tune in to us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and tell us how you feel. Tell us how you feel about this topic. We are now going to move on to our trending hot topic segments. Boom, boom, boom.
Lies, shenanigans.
So we're going to start off with our birthday girl, Gianni Storm. Gianni, what you got for us today?
So we are going to be talking about Miss Sha'Carri Richardson. Since things are getting worse and worse for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, also since the American viewing public is disappointed of the news that track star Sha'Carri Richardson will not be qualified to run the 100-meter relay because she was disqualified for testing positive for marijuana. And there's one thing the pandemic demonstrated, it's that you don't need to physically be in place to participate in an event, hence the empty seat. Slate editor mentioned in the article, instead of mass excitement and spectacle, the Olympics are likely to offer a spooky sense of loneliness and alienation. Unless that is Sha'Carri Richardson goes ahead and runs the 100 meters on her own on a track in front of a crowd of screaming vaccinated American fans. You might say this is a mockery of the Olympics, and to which he responds, how could it? It would simply turn a pious farce into a joyful. So, panel, my question is, do you think Sha'Carri should still perform despite her disqualification? And also, can marijuana in the Olympics mix, or marijuana, sorry, in sports mix, since it's a non-enhancing drug?
So before I turn this over to the panel, let me just explain to our viewing audience and our listening audience how we go about our hot topic segment. So each of the guests on the show, they will bring to the table a trending topic that has been in the news over the previous week that they want to discuss. Each host throws a topic on the table, followed by a leading question, which Gianni just gave us about Sha'Carri Richardson and her status with the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. And then we, as panelists, we delve into it, giving all of our thoughts, what we think about it, what we like, what we dislike, what we agree with, what we disagree with. And then we turn it over to the viewing and listening audience. We see what you're saying about this trending topic before finally ending asking the question, is this truth, lies, or shenanigans? So let's start with Jose. What do you think about Gianni's topic about Sha'Carri Richardson and her eligibility to play, to compete, to run in the Olympics of Games?
So yes, she did test positive for marijuana, and if we can just dive into this for a second, she did confirm that as to the reason why she crossed the line and used weed is that the day that she did so, a reporter came up to her just before trials and told her that her mom had passed away. So a reporter told Sha'Carri that her mother passed away. So to me, Sha'Carri did not know this, and this was divulged. So one, if that was me, I'd have a lot worse than marijuana in my system. However, it does not excuse the rules, the procedures, the policies of the organization. Kind of like if my job, I have policies and procedures. I step out of bounds, I could get, punishment, whatever, up to dismissal. Do I think she should go into a stadium and race and do her 100 meters or whatever with other spectators? Any other day, yes. I find that's a bit disrespectful for the rest of the athletes that are going to be running and taking away from them. Do I think that there's a lot of archaic laws with the Olympics? Absolutely. Is it time to revamp? Yes. It's like you said, Johnny, it's not an enhancing drug. Marijuana is marijuana. So if it's not enhancing, then maybe it's something to look at further down the line for the Olympics. But it's done. It's over with. Let's move on to the next time this happens, because I feel like that would open up Pandora's box as well, saying, okay, just this time, it's okay. You can, run. It was a mistake. What happens to the past athletes that have tested positive for marijuana? What were they going through then? Right. So it's a very difficult situation, and it's shitty. It really is shitty for Sha'Carri because
it is.
she is such a great athlete. Like she is, if you want to talk role models, work hard, play hard type of thing. She had a slip up. Next time.
Okay. Robbie?
Well, that's it. I mean, she was deemed ineligible to compete because of the marijuana use, and it's a direct violation of the IOC rules. They are very clear about what the banned substances are, and that's very heavily regulated and monitored. Under the circumstances, my heart bleeds for Sha'Carri because she has lost so much in recent months. Running the race on Zoom, to me, is disrespectful to her fellow U.S. running team teammates. Not to mention that if she were to do it, it's a publicity stunt because she would not be running under the same conditions as the other competitors. She's not running on the same track. She's not running with the same, just even the climate conditions are going to be different. So it's not the same race. That could mean 0.2 of a second, who knows, but they would not be competing under the same conditions, which is not
unfair,
right? You really can't have it. And if she does run it, to me, it's kind of an empty protest, and it's just America capitalizing on an opportunity to make a spectacle of something. So as far as I think, I really think that Sha'Carri should take the high road.
Okay.
because
You're so silly, Rob. Not the high road.
as far as
I
sports
see
and
what you did there,
marijuana,
Rob. I see what you did there,
Hilarious.
Rob.
you're welcome. And really, I mean, as far as whether or not marijuana and sports can mix, I'm just going
Mix,
to run a couple
yeah.
of names by you: Michael Phelps, Shaun White, Ross Rebegladi, Jamie Anderson, Usain Bolt. So
Oh
Sha'Carri.
wow. Sha'Carri.
Sha'Carri, right? She's a new one on
Yeah.
the list, but I mean, it seems to be very popular amongst skiers and snowboarders. But not so.
Okay.
But we've got Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt who absolutely need that cardio. So it's
Yeah.
it is it's not a performance enhancing drug, but it is a drug that has an impact on your heart rate and your blood pressure. Like it can bring everything down, and depending on the sport, that can give you a competitive or a training edge.
Interesting.
So,
I didn't know that.
one first point to get to what Rob said about how it wouldn't be the same race. I absolutely agree. And leave it to some journalists, some obscure journalists, to come up with this idea of having like this Zoom performance by Sha'Carri. Who would who would she be running against
Solo.
in this Zoom
They just,
race? She
yeah,
would be running.
solo. They just wanted to see her.
So there's no competition there. There's no one there that she's competing against. So it's basically just a practice session. I mean, we could look up her practice sessions on the internet if that's what we want to see.
True. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
furthermore, she wouldn't have to adhere to the same rules. Like, would she be tested? Will she smoke weed the day before she did the Zoom race? No, we don't know that.
Right.
And so it's more spectacle than anything else. And I don't think it should be considered anything but spectacle. Whether or not, and I've been talking about this a lot, okay, whether or not she should have been allowed to perform in the 4x1, make the 4x1 team. I think, unfortunately, absolutely not. Absolutely not. One, this is not a rule that was established by the United States, by USA Track and Field. This rule, the list of banned substances, is for every athlete from every country that competes in the Olympics, in the World Championships, and other international competitions. It's not specifically against Black people. It's not specifically against Americans. It's not specifically against Sha'Carri. And so when Sha'Carri agreed, signed on the dotted line to compete and represent the U.S. in the Olympic trials, she agreed to these rules. She agreed to adhere to these rules. It's one thing, you can definitely think the rule is stupid and antiquated, outdated. That's fine. I kind of think it is, not 100%. I kind of think it is. However, you can't change the rules of the game after the game has been already played. You can't just say, I'm going to adhere to, I
You
agree to
can
adhere to
amend
these
it.
rules, but not
You can
after it's
like
already
add
played.
it.
But then that affects future. That doesn't affect the game
Yeah,
that's
that does
already.
affect the future. I
It
see what you
affects the
mean. I
future.
see what you mean.
So you can't just say,
But
okay, I agree to these rules as long as I don't get caught. Okay, now I'm caught. I'm going to protest these rules. That's not fair at
I see.
all. And the
I see.
IOC, the International Olympic Committee, USA Track and Field, USA, Olympic Committee, they have every right to say these are the rules that we want for our competition. Competing in the Olympics is a privilege, not a right. And if
Yeah.
you don't want to these rules, don't compete. Don't compete. Furthermore, last point, because I know I'm rambling and going on, people need to realize rules and laws that are in effect here in the States, and this is the arrogance of a lot of Americans. Things that are legal here are not legal outside of America. So the Olympic Games are on June 23rd in 2 weeks, right? Weed is illegal in Japan. It's illegal in Japan, immediately punishable by a fine and jail time. We just saw the rapper Lil Baby get arrested in France this week for possession of weed. Weed is illegal in France. And so they arrested him, detained him overnight, and then he was released, but he had to pay a huge fine. Like, we need to get out of this mindset of the fact that, oh, it's legal here, so when I leave the country, those same rules and laws apply. That is not how the world works. And so we can all think that the laws are the rules, because it's not a law, it's a rule. The rules are
Are
stupid
silly.
and
Yeah.
antiquated. However, that's the rule today. And if you want to compete in this competition today, you have to adhere to those rules. Now, if we want to start a whole protest about how the rules are done, absolutely. But you can't do it after you agreed to adhere to the rule, and then you got caught, and then you want to come back afterwards. And
So
so
do you
I think
think
this is
that this situation with Sha'Carri should bring about some like change or amending to the rules of the Olympics, or should it just stay in place and maybe
the,
have an
the thing
alternative to
is
the Olympics? Or
the thing is there are certain sports in the Olympics where THC, where marijuana do have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know, like, help me out, Rob and Jose, like,
I know
shooting,
that, yes, exactly, with the
archery.
shooting, because what it does is it slows your heart rate,
Heart
which
rate, yes.
enables you, because I can't remember, I think it was
oh, calms
it
you
was a
down so
German
you're
or a
not
Dutch
like
competitor who actually lost his gold medal because between competitions he went to the village bar
what?
and had a nice big pint to calm his nerves. But that's exactly what it did. So at that point, you wouldn't think of it, but beer became a performance enhancing drug because it brought his blood pressure down, which gave him additional focus. You know, maybe 1 pint and shoot, sure. 3 pints and shoot, bad idea.
That was
But
my
also,
aim.
if you're shooting
There
really
goes
high
my aim.
altitude, your vision isn't correct. Your vision is affected. Your response time is affected if you're high. There are
Right.
a lot of things that people aren't considering when we talk about THC or weed. And weed is not the only what we consider to be innocuous drug on the banned substances list. You could be banned or you could be fined
For like
if
Tylenol.
you take a
Sudafed.
exactly if you're taking an over-the-counter medicine that has a contaminant
Yep.
that is
I see.
on the list.
Because it has ephedrine in it or
So
something, which
there's
is a
a lot
banned
of things
substance.
that, yeah, there are a lot of things. Like, if we're going to go back and reconsider weed, we have to reconsider all of these other things, and we have to reconsider the situation. Because then if you say, okay, weed is legal here, but not here for these archery or shooting athletes, is that fair? Is that fair? So there's a lot to consider here. A lot to consider.
It does get deep and a lot that are different for it.
Just wanted to say comments online. Dario Winter stated that mentors, pardon me, may be necessary for the immature athletes out there. And I think that's a really good point. I think that's awesome. Like, you have your Usain Bolt. I mean, he is planning on running this year, which is most amazing. He's coming out of retirement. But how amazing would it be to have him as a mentor, as a go-to
Yeah.
person, right? So I think maybe these retired athletes, I think that would be something smart to do, is to become a mentor for these new up and coming athletes that are just coming out and experiencing this, because I could not imagine what they are feeling heading to Tokyo to
Yeah.
compete. I beyond basket case. I'm talking about it and I'm like, I have major anxiety for them. So I think that's a really good point, Daria.
And Jose, it
Yeah.
also poses the question, where were her mentors? Where was her team? Where were the people around her that should have been monitoring who she was interacting with, who she was partying with, because she got the weed from somewhere.
Yeah.
Where were her people? And so there
Right.
are a lot of variables involved in this. And I've often, been steadfast in my claim that I don't think she deserves any breaks. However, I do feel for her situation. And I hope this is a
Yeah.
teachable moment for her and all of the other athletes out there, or people who
Yeah.
sign a contract to do something and think that, oh, I
Yeah.
can skirt the rules of that contract.
Absolutely.
The truth
Yeah.
always comes out.
So, people,
Yeah.
how are we feeling about this? Is this truth, lies, or
Is it?
shenanigans?
Well, the Zoom
Um.
shenanigans.
Yeah,
Agreed. The
yeah.
shenanigans with the Zoom. Yeah.
Shenanigans.
A lot of
Okay.
truth and rules, and that shenanigan Zoom run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
It's harsh
Gianni, what do you
reality,
think?
harsh truth.
Harsh truth. Yeah. Harsh truth. Good one, Joe. I like that. Yeah.
I think a lot of us, and this will be my final comment on this, I think a lot of us who aren't, Olympic athletes or whatever, but who may have to adhere to certain rules, I think we, especially for Jose and Rob and myself, because we're a little bit older than Gianni. Gianni grew up in um, a social media world, iPhones, camera phones, whatever. We didn't have that. And so we could hide. We at that time when we were Sha'Carri's age, when we were your age, Gianni, we could hide a lot of our bullshit. We could hide
Big
a lot
time.
of our
Yeah.
bullshit. Now, as soon as something happens on social media,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yes.
so that's
Makes
part
it
of the game.
amplifies it.
It
Amplifies it.
amplifies it, and we have to govern ourselves accordingly. Unfortunately.
Heck
All right.
Yeah.
So
yes.
The
thank you.
truth.
Great topic, Gianni. Great topic,
Awesome.
Gianni.
Thank
Let's
Thank
you.
you,
move
Johnny.
on to
Thank you.
Jose.
Truth, lies,
Electric shock
shenanigans.
therapy, Jose. What you got on that?
So it's an article that I stumbled upon this week, just reading here and there for Twitter's sake. And it's essentially the school wins a legal battle for electric shock. So there's one place specifically in the States that allows it, but the FDA essentially wanted to stop these treatments. However, it was rejected. So what is happening? They're not really calling it electroshock. They have a fancier word, which is electroconvulsive therapy. It's for those that need specific treatment when medication has totally failed, or therapy has failed, where there's severe psychiatric symptoms. I guess this is used in order to help said individual. Now, this place, it's called the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center. It's in Massachusetts, and you can check out their website. And I was just really shocked to hear that this is still happening in this day and age, only to be proven as I'm reading along that it exists even in my city,
In
right? So
Canada.
somewhere in
What?
my city,
No
Wow.
seriously,
way.
there are quite a
Wow.
few establishments throughout Canada, actually. We kind of embraced this back in the 80s. So my question to you, to my fellow hosts is, did you know that this was still going on? Do you believe in this? Or do you think this is something that should be made away with? For me, I feel it's somewhat archaic. However, what say you, Robbie?
Well, I had to really educate myself a little bit because anything I know about electroshock is merely from pop media, pop culture references. I really don't know much about it. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
stigmas that are attached to it because of how
Huge.
it's portrayed. So when I went diving into it, I actually found a really nice write up from the Mayo Clinic, which is a very reputable organization. And I guess now, when we see it in movies, we see someone strapped to the bed and restraints and just given her. Oh, that's not really the way that it goes because these treatments are done under sedation, under anesthetic, and that's to help protect the person that's undergoing the treatment. That's to help protect the people who, because when it was used previously, when it was first started being used, then yeah, people weren't under the anesthetic, so that would result in a lot of injury to the patients, broken bones and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm not a trained psychologist. I'm not a brain physiologist. So whether or not the treatments work, I don't know. But I do know that it's only used for radical treatment for severe depression, treatment-resistant depression, severe mania, catatonia, agitation, and aggression in people with dementia, which is which can be really difficult to treat and really negatively impact that person and their family's life. So to hear that it's happening under a medical guise doesn't surprise me at all. Whether or not it's being used irresponsibly or in a punitive way, that would be something completely different. But from what I've read for medical application, I'm okay with this.
Let me ask you, being a dad,
Yeah.
I mean, you have kids. And what if your kids were so severely, psychologically damaged? Would this be a route that you would have taken if it was ever introduced to you?
I guess that would have been a long conversation over months and years with healthcare teams,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
because before going to something radical like that, I would have explored any therapy, treatment, counseling, medication. Because yeah, I mean, running electricity through your kid isn't the first thing you think of for correction, unless maybe I don't know, maybe an electric cattle prod would have come in handy every now and then, just straight and
Oh
narrow.
my
Zap.
god.
I mean, kids are kids, yeah, for sure, or we can even ask Lizzie, if you had such issues, would you even consider a treatment for yourself?
I don't think I would. Um, I just, like you said, Jose, I find it to be very archaic. When I read this story, I was someone who was shocked that this was still a thing. Like in my head, this was something that happened in like the 40s and the 50s, and kind of dismantled in the 60s and 70s. Like Rob B said, like my only experience with this topic is through movies, seeing it in movies and seeing it in TV shows. I think the last time I saw it in a TV show was on Showtime's Homeland, when the main character Carrie, she was bipolar, and so she agreed to electric shock treatments to kind of get her back on track, if you will. But I'm someone who, I have a DNR. Okay, I have a do not
Okay.
resuscitate order in my medical history,
Yeah.
and so I don't want all of this treatment just to
Hmm.
keep me alive, or just to, I certainly don't want to be shocked, have electricity, go through my body. But also, I don't know enough about how this aids people. Like, how does this um, fix, if you will, for lack of a better term, fix whatever problem is on the table with these kids, or with people who have disabilities, who are having issues. I just don't know, like, what is the expectation after the shock treatment? What's it supposed to do for you? And I don't think, if you haven't been shocked, if you haven't experienced the treatment, then it's easy for you to say, yeah, I would consider it for my kid or whatever, but you haven't felt those volts going through your body, going through your
Mm-hmm.
brain. So it's very scary to me. It's very scary. um I would not approve of it for myself. Like, if I am foregone, okay, well then we are going to work through a way where I can just live my days peacefully, you know.
Hmm.
I don't think I would want to do it to my kid, especially if it's a young kid who, still has a lot of developing, maturing going. But then on the flip side, we know that there are some kids who are psychologically in a lot of distress and peril. And so that's why I don't know. Like, I really don't know. It's a very tough subject, but it's a subject. It's an article, Jose, that taught me something, because again, I had no idea this was still going on.
I
I had no,
honestly thought it was illegal.
yeah, I had no idea this was still going on. And like you said, you found out that it was still legal in Canada. I wonder, like, worldwide, like, what are
Oh,
procedures,
probably.
the legalities with this, because we know not everything is kosher when you
Hmm.
were talking about, governments, when you're talking about institutions. There's a lot of abuse and neglect that
Yes.
Yeah.
goes on. So that
Yeah.
concerns me too. Um, but yeah, but it scares me. It scares me. It really does. It
Yeah.
really does.
You said
I've
one
actually heard
interesting
about.
thing, Liz, where you said, if you haven't felt it yourself, because I know that when I got just a bark collar for my dog, Well, you better believe that I strapped that puppy on my throat and gave it a try before I put it on my puppers because I wanted to know what they were going to do, what they were going to get, and it was like, okay, this is tolerable. So, you know, that would definitely be something I would want to do before
Nice.
subjecting my child to it. Absolutely, that would be part of that conversation.
That is a good point. Yeah. I was gonna say, when it came to how you guys mentioned you've only really heard of this through pop culture. I remember hearing about this subject in like some college courses, like in psychology courses, because they talked about different treatments and things. Especially, I've heard it for major depression, and manic. I think it's manic depression. I don't know, but I've actually remember my mother was majorly depressed. I remember her doctor offered her that as an option. And we did live near Massachusetts. I'm from Rhode Island, so we lived near Mass at the time. So it was, I wonder, I don't know, but it was still an option when I was very young. So this must have been something recent. But my thoughts on it, I think that it is barbaric or archaic, how you guys say it, and I think that it But with people who want to be hypnotized and like things like that, like alternative taboo things,
Mm-hmm.
if you choose to be shocked, I can understand why. Because we're made of electricity, supposedly, so I can see how that could somehow be of help. But I don't know if it should be done on children because children are very like their brains at that time aren't even fully developed. So I would never do it for children. But if somebody who is majorly depressed and they're like, this is my only option, I don't know what else to do. I'm just suicidal. Then I could understand wanting to go to that measure. I would never do it for children ever. And even the
I
people in that article, Joe, they were complaining, like children were complaining about how they didn't want it done and it was painful.
I
yeah, and
mean,
see
if you
that's
look at how do you feel after, like, I mean, I've never received a shock in my life, right? So I can imagine it doesn't feel right. And when I was reading some of the articles, it was saying, most of the time people will lose their memory due to this, like as
My
a side
God.
effect. I have a friend many, many years ago had a family member that was, majorly addicted to alcohol, right? And so they tried everything. They tried the pills, the therapy, talking to a counselor, did not happen. And this person opted to get this treatment. Now that's all fine and dandy, but the success rate, they're right back where they started. Right. So there is that chance as well. And they say it's not just one treatment that's going to cure you,
yeah, it's
it's
several. It's
many.
Prolong.
So what is that doing?
Trying your
Right. So Daria Winter mentioned online that she thought that this therapy was banned. I would ask to follow the money. Mayo Clinic precautions may not obtain all places. How is it used to be monitored? Who uses it and how? And that's the thing is that can you just go to any doctor's office and, hey, I'm not feeling myself today? Just like I said, I Googled this, I'm checking out, and there's some in my city. That was shocking to me that I can just
or,
walk into
Yeah.
an office.
That
or the
goes.
how. Hey Genji, or the how in terms of who is being administered the shock treatment the most. Which group? Because you have, I mean, I'm not sure how, what the laws are or how things are done in Canada, but in the States, we hear far too often how usually the poor folks are the
Yeah.
guinea pigs, how
And
usually
that's
the
it,
person
right?
of colors
Yeah.
are the person of color are the guinea pigs. They're the ones
And
that,
that's
are
true.
receiving this and
Hmm.
receiving it in terms of being abused by it. And so that's what concerns me. And so, my sister is, in the chat watching the show, other friends or whatever. Listen, I am not going to agree to this ever. Do not shock me. Do not think I want to be shocked. We can come up like send me to a log cabin and just let me be. I
Hmm.
do not want, and I think hopefully people, especially adults, but also children, because like you just said, children are saying they don't want it. Hopefully, as it's still a thing, as it's still being administered, there is an option for the patient to say, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want this.
Yeah,
consent.
for sure.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. I'm
No,
sorry. Thank
thank
you,
you
Jose.
for everyone. Thank you for sharing.
So how are we all
Is
feeling
it
about
truth
this one?
lies? Hmm.
It's
I
an
think it's
unfortunate
truth.
It is an unfortunate truth, like a
Yeah,
harsh truth again, it's that this is
dark
being,
truth.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Dark
so
truth.
it's
Yeah.
Dark
just one
truth.
more thing we need to monitor and govern ourselves accordingly about, like, make ourselves aware. We often think about um overly treating people via drugs, right? But this is
Mhm.
another iteration of that idea. So it's definitely
Yeah.
something that we need to check out and research. So thank
Yeah,
you for
that's
that,
interesting.
Jose.
Thank you, Joe.
For that.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, so let's go to Rob B. What's
Live
happening, Rob B, in
shenanigans.
Canada?
Well, some more goodness actually coming from Canada. So, Inuk leader Mary Simon was named Canada's first Indigenous Governor General. I
Hmm.
had talked about this a little while back, just talking about a lot of the issues with Indigenous people in Canada as of late. But we had definitely talked about the Governor General position. So, the Governor General, in a nutshell, is the representative of the Crown in the seat of government. So they prorogue government. They start and finish assemblies. They sign stuff. It's very much a figurehead type of position, but one with influence because you have direct access to the prime minister. Now, a lot of people have questioned whether or not this would be the right move over the years, simply because a lot of the Indigenous people in Canada do not recognize the Crown in England. If anything, they recognize that they are the oppressor, if you will. It's by virtue of the Crown that, well, the last 400, 500 years of history happened to them. So I'm very curious to get your reactions and your impressions on Canada's move to appoint an Indigenous person as the Governor General, and that's the first time in our history. Is Canada, despite all of the recent bad stuff in the news, is Canada taking the right steps towards reparations?
I think so.
Gianna, you want to start,
I
Gianna?
think so. Yeah, I'll start. I think they are. I'm proud, Canada. Good job. Um, everything is. I feel I'm not like saying everything is so extreme where it's like, oh, they're doing the best thing ever and they're doing, but it's a start, right? And like you said, Rob, even though that governor position doesn't hold much responsibility or doesn't have that much, it still has influence. So, um, maybe the indigenous First Nation people will start to see, um, not that the crown is like good or inclusive now, but maybe they'll start to come together in some respect. I don't know. I can't say that 100% because look at America, but something will something will come of it. I'm being an idealist, but no, I like that they're trying. They're trying. The Governor Simon said something. She said that for a long time there have been barriers in place for First Nation in this country, whether it's because of systemic racism, whether it's the fact that indigenous languages are not official languages. And so there's that barrier too of not learning. I think they don't know French or something, First Nation people.
Well, no, this is
Okay.
specific to Mary Simon, and I love that you brought that up because she doesn't speak the two national languages, which are French and English. But she doesn't know French because she went through the residential school system. Learning French was not
Mm.
something that was afforded to her. She was not
Oh, wow.
given the opportunity. So she absolutely kind of got to call out the past by saying, hey, I don't
That's
have this
interesting.
proficiency, but she has committed to learning French on the job.
Nice.
Interesting.
Wow. That
Interesting.
is a good, like, put in your face, like, I don't know French, but it's because you guys didn't teach me French.
Yeah.
Because of this. I don't know French because
Yeah.
of this, but I'm going to learn because you're giving me an opportunity now.
Yeah,
Yep. Love
for
that.
sure,
Smart.
for sure.
Jose?
Awesome. I think it's an important moment in the Canadian history, given with everything that has happened, especially just in the last few
Oh,
months.
yeah.
Um, I think, honestly, my opinion, we were long overdue to have an Indigenous person to represent, in the Canadian government. That being said, like Robbie Rock said, there's issues, right, with the Crown and the Indigenous people. If you think, the Crown came and basically took their land, and here we are today. What I'm hoping it'll do is, I'm asking, is it time that we move away from said Crown? Is it time that we start learning more about Indigenous people as a nation? Because, they were here first. So incorporate their languages as, a language for Canada as well. It's a step in the right direction. I know some Indigenous people are happy, some of them are not. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out, right? The fact that we've actually made this move, and I have to say, like, our current government has been kicking ass with the Indigenous people for apologizing numerous times and for recognizing them and for trying to make amends. So for now,
How do Indigenous people feel about the new governor? Do they like her? Do they feel like she's
Mary
fake?
Simon has been a champion for the last 40 years.
yeah.
She has
Okay.
been a very active voice in Indigenous rights. She's worked in the Arctic Circle. She went toe to toe with Justin Trudeau's dad back in the 70s, talking about just gender equity. So, I mean, this woman is absolutely kick
People
ass,
know.
and she has been involved in the right ways. She has been an advocate
But
of the people.
Yeah. If you look at her resume, if you will, she's certainly not green. Like, I think she's a tough cookie, and I think she's going to challenge a lot of people, which I think is something that Canada needs.
nice. I'm excited to see
What
what.
do you think, Lizzie?
I just hope that this isn't, I don't know, a case of performative activism
Mm-hmm.
where it's
Yeah.
more about the PR spin on this versus being really interested in the cause and having this be effective for the Indigenous community, for the First Nation community. That's my only concern.
Yeah.
Whereas I understand that representation is important. I'm always speaking that as it relates to the Black community here in the States, but it can't just be tokenism. It can't just be, okay, everyone's making a big stink, so let's just put this person here and then work
Yes.
around them. Not get so
Right.
that's the only thing that I'm concerned with. Like, I want there to be legitimate follow-up, legitimate,
Yes.
interest in the needs of the First Nation, of the Indigenous community. Because I
Yeah.
think on the surface, it's a good thing. Like, Jose said, they were here first and they're still here and they're not going away. And so they should be a part of the government and the conversation. But
That's
you can't
very
just have them, propped up, as like a ha ha ha, here we are figure.
like a
And then we
mascot type thing.
yeah, and then we hide them behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
hopefully, this comes from a genuine place.
Absolutely.
That's my stance on it. And I would be,
That's
interested
true.
in following the story to see how people in the Indigenous community feel about this. Do they think that this is a good thing? Do they think that this is, appropriate representation, and that this is something that they can build off of, they can build upon
Yeah.
in the future?
That's as I was reading through the material, because she did address the Crown Indigenous relations. When she was asked about her unique position as the first Indigenous Governor General, she said that she doesn't see any conflict between her identity and her new role. Because as the Queen's representative in Canada, I am very concerned about the circumstances that led to some of the events that we are seeing today. I do understand, as an Indigenous person, that there is pain and suffering across our nation. So I really hope that she is going to be that bridge, like you were saying, Liz,
Yeah.
not given to tokenism because she has the chops, she has the creds and the reputation, and I think that she can really pull this off.
Yeah.
I just
I think
wanted
she will
to,
if she's done it before.
for sure. Olivia says, give them their stolen land back. That's reparation. And Jacqueline Robinson says, in all honesty, as Americans, we are in no position to criticize Canada. We finally have a native as Secretary of the Interior, and that was a fight. So, yes, okay, I can absolutely appreciate that statement for sure. Yeah. We need work everywhere. Everywhere. Everyone needs work.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
We need
For
work
sure.
everywhere, and we need legitimate representation everywhere.
For sure.
And so
Absolutely.
I appreciate again, Rob, this topic, this segment, because if not for you bringing it to the table, I probably wouldn't have heard about it because it hasn't been, anything that's been in the
World news.
American.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
something that people are talking about here.
But there's so many
So I
parallels between our collective history in North America, there, especially when it comes to
Yeah.
the treatment of indigenous peoples. Um, we definitely have a very common history. So it's something that's important to talk about. And for me, just because it was really a lack of education and information as a kid, it's important for me to get this out to other Canadians and
What I
my
think
American
it's an
friends.
appropriate, timely and appropriate topic, especially given that we just 2 months ago had a former senator, Rick Santorum, say publicly that he didn't see or believe that Indigenous people, Native Americans, had any influence on
Oh
the
yeah.
development of the United States. Which caused him to be finally let go by CNN. But again, it's a timely topic that
Absolutely.
needs to be talked about, that needs to be exposed, and that people need to be aware of. As Americans, we get so caught up in like a lot of minutia here, um, and unfortunately, a lot of topics that deal with First Nation, that deal with the Indigenous people, they aren't front page stories. They aren't stories that we really have a lot of history, background, or knowledge about. So again, I appreciate this topic.
Yeah.
So,
This is a
so
day when
ladies,
I
Great.
a lot of stuff.
are we feeling that this is truth, lies, or shenanigans?
I think it's true.
Truth.
I
There's
think
a whole
another
lot of
true
truth.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
We're bringing the heat.
It's all honesty.
Bring it heat.
well, this next topic, is bringing a lot of heat,
Shenanigans.
unfortunately, a lot of heat, a lot of civil unrest, a lot of sadness. So, for those of you who aren't aware, the country of Haiti is in a national crisis right now. So, their president, Jovenel Moise, I'm trying to pronounce his
Good.
name properly, was assassinated at his home in Port-au-Prince on Wednesday. And so there's been a lot of conversation. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories about what actually happened. As far as we know today, because this only happened a couple of days ago, there's still a sense of chaos in the country. It's been exacerbated by the questions over who was behind the attack at his residence. The authorities and the Haitian authorities aren't necessarily forthcoming. They're not necessarily, or they haven't in the past necessarily been a government that's been trusted. But the authorities have arrested at least 20 people, the majority of them Colombian. Within the 20, though, there have been 2 Haitian Americans arrested who they claim they were only there as translators and they didn't see anything. But President Moise was literally murdered, assassinated by what everyone believes was a foreign hit squad.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of questions and conspiracies surrounding this. Like, one, why was he a target? Who made him a target? Who ordered the hit? Like, clearly, Colombian assassins don't have a vested interest in killing the president of Haiti. So, who hired them? Was this an in-house job? Or because it's claimed that, there are 2 Haitian Americans that are involved, does this reach American soil? And a lot of people, there's been a lot of, again, civil unrest, a lot of chaos. There are Haitians who are trying to flee the country. There were hundreds, almost 1,000 Haitians that went to the U.S. Embassy in Haiti, thinking that they could get, papers so they could leave the country. The embassy said no, go back to where you came from. There's questions about whether or not, President Biden will deploy troops to assist in the situation. My question to you all is, what the fuck is going on in Haiti? What is going on in Haiti? Rob?
Well, the man had a lot of enemies. He was actually in the process of overhauling Haiti's constitution, and among the provisions that he was pushing for was one that would grant Haiti's leader immunity for any actions while in office. So that was leading critics to charge that he really represented a threat to their democracy, and he was setting the country on a course towards authoritarian rule. It's, the fact that you've got a group of 28 mercenaries, two have ties to America, the rest have been tied to, was it Bolivia or Colombia?
Colombia.
Colombia. So, I mean, if we think of the CIA's past, no, like they've never been involved in disrupting foreign governments. They've never sent and trained operatives to do their dirty work. But I mean, if you're going to destabilize a nation, why the hell would you pick Haiti? Why would you pick the poorest kid on the block to beat up some more?
Right.
That really doesn't make sense. But nationally, the power grab that he was going for with the amendments to the Constitution would absolutely warrant a lot of his political enemies in Haiti to step up and say, yeah, no, this isn't going to work for us, or even neighboring nations who say, no, this isn't going to work for us. Haiti, unfortunately, has decades upon decades of political upheaval and disruption. This goes as far back as when the French colonists basically pulled out and raped Haiti of all of its all of its riches. So there's a reason why they're poor.
Literally.
France screwed them way back in the day. And then there's so much as I kept diving down into this rabbit hole, Liz. I just kept, where does this thread lead? Where does this thread lead? I felt like I could have decorated my room with yarn because, and that was just in a short amount of time. There's so many machinations in the background and so many enemies. No wonder there are conspiracy theories that are abounding amongst them. All that uncertitude. I know that when the attack happened, that a lot of the local populace was involved in helping police services gather up the culprits. So and police forces were urging them to stay calm, don't take the law into your own hands, due process. But during all of this, three of the vehicles that the assassins used were set ablaze by the mobs. I understand their furor, but that's three evidence scenes that could have been a treasure trove of information, but these cars got torched. So I'm hoping people are going to start talking soon, but if we're talking about South American hit squads that are sponsored by the CIA, no one's saying shit.
And I think, so just to piggyback off of that, Rob, I think a lot of people are alarmed by the idea, one, that this hit squad was apprehended so quickly, because the assassination happened on Wednesday, and then within 24, 36 hours, they were apprehended. So again, this wasn't a Haitian hit squad. So you're talking about foreigners, people from Colombia who kind of would stand out in Haiti, if you will, coming in, getting easy access to the president's residence and killing him in front of his wife and children. Like that takes a lot of effort, a lot of planning. And he hadn't been president for very long. Like, he was sworn in as president in February 2017. So it would have been, the equivalent of a Donald Trump president, a one U.S. term.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, what else is behind all of this? Jose, what are you thinking? Because I'm thinking a couple of things, but what are you thinking?
Well, when it comes to conspiracy theories, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to call my gal, Marjorie Taylor Greene, to find out what she has to say about this. No. The thing is when I heard about the assassination, I was like, oh shit, that's horrible. But then reading more about it and talking with Robbie Rock about, this is assassination, is that Moise had a lot of enemies. And from what I'm seeing, I don't know what to make of it. I really don't, because Robbie Rock says, there were cars torched. Well, on the other hand, they're also saying those cars were torched for a reason, hence evidence, right? So are we ever going to find out what really happened? What's really amazing is that these people were able to go into his home. Apparently it's a fortress, like there's barbed wire and stuff like that. So again, is it an
Yeah.
inside job? Who's your
Easy to
friend?
do.
Keep a closer eye on your enemies, know your staff, know who's working for and against you, right? So I think as this unfolds, we are going to learn a lot more of what has been happening, unfortunately. And maybe it's just the people, they did say with this new project, as Mais called it, it would be that the critics fear that it would erode democracy. So that's a legitimate fear. So if you get enough people together, what's going to happen? And who knows? I mean, right now we're talking about this, and all I'm thinking of is my show Scandal, how like the White House had like secret people. You know what I mean? Who's to say that doesn't happen though? Right? Like, who's to say that
True.
someone out there said, you know what, we can't let this happen. We got to take care of this. Who knows?
And you're thinking about Scandal. I'm still thinking about Homeland. Like, this is the perfect script plot for Homeland.
Literally, yeah.
About, extortion and government betrayal, international conflict.
Yeah.
This is Scandal. This is Scandal. And so, in addition to, him being assassinated and the civil unrest there, the current prime minister, Claude Joseph, is jockeying for position. The Senate president is jockeying for position. Like, within 12 hours, they're jockeying for position. But to me, it just screams inside job versus these Colombians that are kind of like fall guys, if you will.
Jacqueline says it. Yeah.
It, but they were hired. They weren't hired by anyone in Colombia to do this.
No.
I've heard that there was, with the Haitian president, there was actually some type of Colombian prisoners. Like there's a reason why the Colombians are involved in this. Bolivians?
They've got beef with Bolivia, or Bolivia has beef with them, but Bolivia is pretty darn close to Colombia. Just saying.
Right. So I think it is. I almost feel like the Colombian mob, if you will, that whole group, I almost feel like that was legitimate. I just feel like we don't know why. Because Haiti, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of corruption, but I feel like they're so poor. Why would they hurt themselves even more? Like, your president's gone. Now it's a shithole even worse. Like, it's going to be, so I feel like, I don't know if we are talking conspiracy theories, but just it's hard to do research in the midst of all of this because, there's a million articles that are going to be doing what we're doing, kind of like speculating. So, but before that happened, I saw that there were ties to prisoners that were in Haiti. And so maybe it was some type of beef. I don't know. That's just
I just still don't buy that, given that the people that would benefit from this would be people in the Haitian government. And so that's why I'm thinking, like,
true.
You need to check your prime minister, you need to check your Senate. Like, those would be the people that would benefit from it. Mercenaries and assassins, they'll take money to kill anyone in any country, whatever. But I just, and we know the Haitian government has not been trustworthy for decades. So I just obviously you feel bad for the people that are caught up in this, and I'm not saying anything negative against his wife, but the fact that it happened in their home, in front of
Yeah.
her, and the children were nearby, that's horrible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
disgusting.
She took 3 bullets. She was shot 3 times.
Jeez. I
They
almost
transferred
forgot
her to
she.
Miami. I read an article today how they transferred her to Miami. But Jacqueline Robinson says, all kidding aside, it could have happened here, as in the US, and we are still investigating the inside job of January 6th, which is so very true. Like, will we ever really find out why he was
Yeah,
And
assassinated?
as it
I
relates to
know.
January, this is what I kept trying to impress upon people. Aside from Donald Trump, who was down the street, you know, instructing these people to take action, the totality of the US government was in the Capitol that day, including the vice president.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And so for all of these Republicans to take this, kid gloves, hands off approach to what happened it sickens me. Like the fall of our nation could have happened on that day if those people, if those terrorists had been able to breach
Hell
the areas that they intended to breach. And I don't think enough people take that seriously. Like there could have been only one person was killed, and that was one of the terrorists. It could have been a completely different story if they had been allowed
Yes.
to go where they wanted to go. If all of those people that were, on the Senate floor were armed instead of just, looking at documents or taking pictures or whatever. And I
Yeah,
think that's what happens, because I think that's a part of the arrogance of America, that we don't take these things seriously until it's too late. But that
until it's
totally
too
could have
late.
happened here on January 6th.
Yeah.
That totally could have happened here. And so that was one of the reasons I could see the Capitol from my window. That was one of the reasons why I was so pissed. I was just like, you guys aren't seeing the full picture of what could have happened here.
It's sad
Yeah.
because we need to, like Lady Anne Betty says, it's sad with all the innocents caught in these crossfires and the ripple effect. Because at the end of the day, absolutely true, Annie, is that it's the people that are going to feel this. It's the
Yeah.
communities. It's so sad. And like we've all said, this country, this poor place. I mean, there's poor. It's not looking good.
Do you think
And it's always
there
the
will start
people
to
that
be
suffer.
Haitian refugees because of this incident? Or, well, you guys already said they started to leave or tried to leave. Sorry. Tried.
Well, they're trying to, but there's also the question of if President Biden is going to offer any type of military assistance, if he's going to
Oh,
deploy any troops. And he, so far, has been kind of hesitant. And I have to say, I don't necessarily fault him for that hesitancy. I'm not saying that I agree. I'm just saying I don't fault him for that. But it's a huge deal. It's a lot.
yeah.
And, even though, former President Trump called Haiti a shithole country,
Yes, he did.
one, it
Oh my
isn't.
God, he said that?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. It was Haiti and a
What?
host of other countries um, that have black populations and black governments. Shithole countries. He said that we don't need to let residents from the citizens from these shithole countries come into the United States. We should be looking more towards Norway.
Fuck, Trump is such a
Norway.
Trump is
bag.
horrible. Oh my God.
That's
He's
that
such
was
an
his that
idiot.
was his about it. Um,
Oh my
but it's
God.
an international issue that we can't afford to not take seriously. We can't afford
Yeah.
to not.
No.
Can't afford to not take it serious. That's
No.
true.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Man.
Weighty topics panel, but I thank you for, not being afraid to speak out on what's going on in the world, for, beckoning us to take a look at things that we may normally not take a look at. We may normally
Hmm.
turn the page on. I think that's
Yeah.
one of the major characteristics of Truth Life Shenanigans. We're not afraid to talk about certain things. We're not afraid to
Yeah.
talk about certain things. Thank you for, the engaging and the enlightening topics for today.
So are we calling
Thank
this
you,
one
Liz.
Truth, Lies, or Shenanigans?
Oh, goodness.
I think this is
Ooh,
like
it might
an
be
assassin
live.
spy story that's got all three of them.
I
It's
think that,
true.
you know what, Rob, remember, Rob, we had a streak of where we were going with topics that were all three. And then we kind of like,
Yeah.
kind of cooled that down a little bit. But I think this is definitely one that encompasses all three.
All three.
Truth,
Yeah.
lies,
Yeah.
and a lot of shenanigans.
Heck
A
yeah.
lot of
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys. Good hot topic. So everyone, that includes our hot topic session. Feel free to join us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram, and let us know what hot topics you want us to talk about. We're going to be back with you next Sunday, same time, same place, 4 p.m. And let us know if there's something that we may have missed that you think we should be talking about. Okay. So that concludes another round of heavy hitting hot topics for the day. Let's say we kind of lighten things up a little bit. Let's say we lighten things up a little bit. Y'all ready to play a game? Y'all ready to play a game?
Would you like
Yeah,
to
It's
play?
yeah,
time
yeah.
for this game show, which today is going to be brought to you by our lovely Gianni Storm. What you got for us, Gianni? What you
Yay!
got?
Yay, Johnny.
So, for today's game show, we're playing the alphabet game, or otherwise known as categories. As we go down the alphabet, each host has to say a word associated to today's category, which is celebrities. My favorite.
Okay.
Okay, so
All
I'll
right.
start.
Okay.
If we finish this game, there are other categories that I have just in case. So I'll start off with the first letter in the alphabet, and we'll go clockwise. So like Liz, Jose, Rob, me, and until one of us fumble, and then until there's one man standing, so to speak, one
So
person
just to
standing. Sorry.
clarify,
Ooh, I like that Freddy foreshadowing.
just to clarify, you give us a letter, and we have to call out a celebrity associated with the letter. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. So like
Okay.
C.
So for those of you who are listening or watching us, join in the fun. Join in the fun. Participate in the chat. So when
Comment.
she calls a letter, you give us your name, your example for that particular letter, and we may share some of those at the end of the segment. All right.
Okay.
Let's
All
do
right. So
it.
you ready?
So
Let's do it.
You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
yes, let's
Am
play.
I first? Am I first? Oh Lord. Okay.
Yes, you will go first. So we'll start with the first letter of the alphabet, which is A.
Ariana Grande. Adele.
Good. B.
Bieber.
B.
Bieber.
CeeLo.
D.
Dirks Diggler.
I messed up. That's a
Dirks
celebrity.
That's
E.
fictional.
E.
That's for
Liz.
you, Jose.
Good.
E.
No, that's for
It's for
you.
you, Joe.
D was for Johnny.
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah. Oh
didn't know
yeah. I'm playing too.
that. Okay, so E is for Gianni then.
Sure.
No, I did D and I messed up. So now it's you, Liz. E. So I'm out of the
Oh,
game.
Elizabeth Windsor. Elizabeth
Good.
Windsor.
F.
Fergie.
Good. G.
George Hamilton.
H.
That's
See,
you,
Johnny.
right?
Oh, I thought I
Yeah,
got
she's
out because
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah, I thought
gotcha.
I'm out because I messed
Johnny
up.
was out. Yeah.
Oh, H.
H.
H. Who's H? Am I gonna go out on H?
Halle Berry.
There's
Damn. Gianni threw me off. Gianni threw me off
yeah. I'm
because H
sorry.
was something. Gianni threw me off.
Okay.
Gianni threw me off.
So okay, so Liz, unfortunately you lost that one. Next is Jose. Sorry. Now it's between Jose and Rob. I.
Awesome. Iggy Pop.
Good.
Okay.
J.
Liam Nis. Oh wait, J. Jordan.
Jordan,
Jordan
like Michael Jordan.
Sparks.
Okay.
Jordan.
Okay.
Michael
Good.
Jordan.
Jordan.
K.
He meant Johnny. He meant Jordan Woods. He meant Jordan Woods. That's what he meant.
Jordan Woods. The Instagram baddie. H-I-J-K. Sorry, Joe.
Kanye.
Good. L.
Liam Neeson.
Good. M.
Man. Mariah
Martin
Carey.
Luther King.
Sorry.
Sure. All of the above.
N.
Nicki Minaj.
Good. O. Joe's
Ozzy
out.
Osbourne.
Oh, okay. Okay. You came back with that. What's after O? P.
Paul Stanley.
Good. Q. Ooh, that's hard. Q.
Queen
Oh my
Elizabeth.
God, that's easy. Q-tip. Q-tip.
Q-tip. Oh, true. R. Rob.
Robbie Rock.
R for Rob. What's after R? S.
Satan.
What?
He's a celebrity.
No, Sheila E.
Oh.
Okay.
S. Satan. No. Okay. No. Okay. Crickets. That was scary.
Q-R-S. T.
Terrence Trent D'Arby. 2T.
Wishing well, Rob. Wishing well.
That was that was that was you, right? You? Yeah, you. You, Jose, you. Get it.
I got it. You, Jose.
Anyone. Throw me a bone.
Ultimate Warrior.
You.
Ultimate
Usain Bolt.
Warrior.
Usain Bolt. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but seriously, that was with help. So I would have to say that I'm out.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with that one. Wow, good one.
It looks like Rob won. Rob, you won.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
How's it feel, Rob?
Good job,
How's
guys.
it feel? How's it?
It feels amazing. It feels amazing. I'm going to Disneyland.
You do
We're
that.
going to take this show at the end, but before we get there, we have some fur baby news for you all. Jose, what you got?
So this week, pet shenanigans. Can we say hello to Sprocket again? What a cutie. So Sprocket loves bath time. So when mommy takes a bath, Sprocket needs to be near it. And we also have a winner for the week before, and that's our lovely Ruger. Now I'll see if I could just paste something here. Can we paste Ruger? No, maybe not. I was trying to get Ruger on to see if I can paste him in the comments. I can't, and I do apologize. But he is on our Pet TLS page.
And he will be
Regardless,
in the newsletter.
He will be in the newsletter. Yep. Both pooches will be in the newsletter. Absolutely, for sure. So regardless, pets, no pets, you know what? Like us on Facebook. Check it out because we've got some real cutesicles.
Yes, post all of your pet shenanigans to us, folks. We've had some beautiful. We've had some pets that have been getting into some non. We want to see all of it. We want to see all of it. We love our fur babies. So please go to our Facebook page, TLS Pet Shenanigans, and show us what you got with your beautiful, beautiful pets. All right. So that ends this segment of Pets Shenanigans. And so we are going to start to close out the show with some shout outs. Shout outs. Who y'all want to shout out? Woo-hoo!
Shout out.
Who y'all shouting out?
Shout out. Don't forget, we will be picking up next Sunday, July 18th, with guest Micah from Black on Black Cinema. We're going to be reviewing and watching the movies Space Jam and what is the other one? No Sudden Move. So you guys check those out before the show so you can comment with us.
So perfect.
Rob, who you shouting out?
I want to shout out Neo for all of the instruction he's given me over the course of the week to successfully get through this and for being available on the road when things weren't working properly. So, huge shout out to Neo. Thanks for all the help, brother.
Thank you,
Really
Neo.
appreciate it.
Have a good
Yay,
trip.
Thank you, Neo. Awesome.
Jose, who are you shouting out?
Shout out to Johnny, happy birthday. Shout out to you, Lizzie, for facilitating this whole awesome episode today. Shout out to my unscripted friend, Olivia E. Shout out to Neo Traveling. And shout out to my Robbie Rock for taking the reins today and for doing a great job. I truly admire your passion and your willingness to learn new things. You rock, baby.
Very good.
Love.
Very good. Rob. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to my intern, Undefeated, Taylor Sweetie, and John Kay. So they represented last night at the ESPYs Awards in New York City.
Cool.
Amazing.
An award on stage. They were also covering the red carpet, and they got to interview for the after show our current GOAT of the spelling bee, Zaila Avant-Garde.
Cool.
Now, as we speak right now, they are covering their first professional baseball game. They're at the Mets game in the press box in New York City. So I'm very proud of you guys. Shout out to you, and just keep going onward and upward, onward and upward, you guys.
Amazing.
Love it. Love
Amazing.
it.
Wow, Liz. Congrats, Liz.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm trying to impart, some crazy sports journalism wisdom on these trips. So that concludes our Sunday Fun Day episode of Truth Live Shenanigans. I know you guys were missing us last week, but we're back. We came back strong, we came back hard, and we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you tune in this coming Wednesday for Unscripted, TLS Unscripted, where we will be joined by Gianni Storm and our lovely Olivia E. You can see them on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook at 8 p.m. this coming Wednesday. And then the regular next Sunday for TLS Live Show at 4 p.m. on Sunday. It will be myself, Gianni Storm, Robbie Rock. I don't know. Jose might be making a guest appearance. We'll have to see. Neo may still be on the road. You guys know throughout the week. But we appreciate all of your support. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok using TLS Live Show at TLS Live Show, or go to our website, TLSLiveShow.com. And don't forget, if you happen to miss any of our episodes, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts using TLS Live Show. All right, so we're everywhere. We're everywhere. We're like roaches, but cuter than roaches.
Way cuter. I was going to say like a bad rash, but no, I like yours better.
Rash, mosquitoes, we're like all of that.
That's it.
So we're going to have, at the end of the show, we are just going to have our winner of the Shenanigans game show, our rock star, Robbie Rock, take us home. Take him home, Rob.
Well,
take us home.
I'm going to piggyback on what Jose was saying. If an opportunity to learn something new is presented to you, say yes. If there's the worst that's going to happen is you're going to at least get that experience. You might learn that skill set or that adventure isn't for you, but you might actually learn something really cool and really enjoy it. That's what I got.
There you go.
I love it.
Ponder. Live by, you all. In case you were wondering what else you can do to keep in contact with us before we have TLS Unscripted on Wednesday, before we have the TLS Live Show on next Sunday, you can always hit all of us up on our Facebook pages, on our Twitter pages, or you can just DM me and put my info so you can send me some Chanel. I'm still celebrating my birthday, y'all. Yanni just send us stuff.
The whole month.
With that, see you next week. We'll see you next week. Enjoy. Boop, boop.
Oh, yeah.